Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, welcome, or Mr. Bessent, welcome to our committee, and good to see you again, and thank you for your willingness to serve. It is certainly a sacrifice to you and your family, but I think it's actually an investment for the country. We need folks who are willing to sacrifice on behalf of a greater cause. The greater cause in this instance is generations of Americans you will likely never meet, but will be better off because we do the right thing. One of the things I think about as the right thing, I know you grew up in a working class family and I grew up in a single parent household mired in poverty, is having stability in our financial system. One of the places where we need the greatest amount of stability is for our banks. So think about Silicon Valley Bank and other banks that failed recently. As you can imagine, as the chairman of the banking committee, I care deeply about the stability and strength of our banking system. From your vantage point, can you provide your assessment of the current safety and soundness of the U.S. banking industry, and what steps do you believe are necessary to ensure long-term stability?
Senator Scott, good to see you. Good to have two South Carolinians in the room. And look, I think the strength of the U.S. Economy, our financial markets, is the depth and breadth of our financial systems. I believe that we have likely seen the top 5 banks become too big a share of banking assets. We have seen, because of undue regulation, the shadow banking system get larger and larger, and to the detriment of community banks, small banks, and the small regional banks. So I think that we have to take a look at both regulatory and supervisory conditions in those. I think that the banking system is well capitalized, perhaps over-capitalized, and this comes from someone, my background is as a financial institutions analyst. I've also taught the history of financial crises, so I am very attuned to the idea that financial stability is important. The pendulum tends to swing from one way, go into overshoot, and that from 99 to 2008, that was an overshoot. And since then, the regulation, our banking system has been constrained. And if we are going to have the kind of the generalized Main Street prosperity that I would like to see over the next few years, it's going to be driven by communities, small banks, and small regionals.
Well, if I had more time, maybe another 5 or 6 minutes would be great. I don't think I'm getting it. Thank you very much. We'd spend a little more time on Basel III because your answer actually reinforces the fact that Basel III puts more capital on the sidelines, which means there's less capital to loan for mortgages or for starting small businesses. But I won't go there. But where I will go, however, is towards opportunity zones. As you know, I wrote the legislation, and opportunity zones was in fact a bipartisan piece of legislation, although it's only supported by Republicans. And the results of the opportunity zones has been astounding. My friends who are mayors, Democrat mayors, support it and celebrate it. My friends who are Republican governors support it and celebrate it, because the fact is simple, that $84 billion committed and invested in opportunity zones have led to real help coming into some distressed communities. It's only had less than a 5% gentrification rate, which is really important. But for the housing question, so many folks, mayors around the country, said for the first time, because of opportunity zones, they're seeing affordable housing in their downtown areas, and they haven't seen it, John Geddes in Rock Hill, 3 decades. So we know that they've been effective without gentrification. I hope that the administration will spend some time encouraging and supporting the next iteration of opportunity zones. Your thoughts quickly?
Senator Scott, I think they have been a resounding success. And I recently read data that in terms of affordable housing, the opportunity zones have created more affordable housing within the zones than any other federal government program since opportunity zones were created. So I think that it's a fantastic way to address the housing crisis. I think the inner city redevelopment. I think we could think about opportunity zones more in rural areas.
Yes.
So I look forward to expanding and continuing the discussion.
Thank you. My last thoughts will be a comment, not a question. But as a result of the TCJA, we saw the richest Americans' tax burden as a percent of revenues coming in go up, and we saw the poorest Americans as a percent of revenue coming into the government go down. I think the easiest way to say that is to recognize that a single mother, like the one who raised me in 2017, made on average $40,000 a year. Her tax burden, her tax percent went down, her tax rate went down by 71%. That is a result of good policy being good politics, and I hope we keep our eye on the ball of helping the average American have more of their money in their pockets.